user, and right now it's me. Okay, there's my background. Okay, so I'm going to put it on screen share. All right. Whoops, pull this up to the stage. Okay, something really cool we're celebrating is the Breakaway Oracle. So it's the first edition. There's limited copies. Get yours. You can pre-order them now. There's a really cool pictures here. It's all futuristics. I know I want a car like that. Really cool buildings. So breakawayoracle.com. I also want to show you Julia's, let me remove this here. I want to show you Julia's YouTube channel. Lots of people tuning in are familiar with Julia. And it's a real delight to have her on my show here because she's always monitoring in the background. All right, this is her YouTube channel, and you can see here as her main thumbnail, she's got the breakawayoracle.com where you can pre-order it. Here you can find all of Julia's videos. You can see she's practically hosting every day throughout the day. I'm on here a few times, and she's even got a special playlist now. So if she has people on her show multiple times, they get a playlist in the name just for them. So Soma Ara, for example, she's going to be presenting at our conference as well. So if you just wanted to check her out, you can. And Julia does all kinds of stuff. She talks about ETs, the secret space program, just even people who have Bigfoot sightings. So there's always something to share, building community. And now I want to show you my Buy Me a Coffee because that's got the heart of the images that I want to show you. Okie doke. And tomorrow we're going to be having our live tech rehearsal as well. So if anybody wanted to hang out with us, you're welcome to do that. We're not going to be presenting, but we will be taking the time to make sure that we could hear each other. And no promises that the presenters will be there. It's just an opportunity for them if they want to come. So this is my Buy Me a Coffee. I post in here pretty much every day. This is the big post that went out about Julia. She's featured in my Buy Me a Coffee multiple times. So you can just scroll back the pages. And I keep things pretty updated. There's Julia again. So you don't have to worry about going back too much on my Buy Me a Coffee. So let's click on today's post. Just to get to the pictures. Here's me welcoming Julia, her biography, all the links are there. So this was the picture for today, Breakaway Oracle. So Julia, while I'm showing these pictures, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you created them, what inspired you, like what year is it in these pictures? They're really cool.
They're not any specific year because the Breakaway is the kind of colonies off planet where it is futuristic like that naturally. So I created this deck primarily as a resource for people who are starting to get memories that don't fit into this reality, because like myself, I've had a lot of memories coming forward that just didn't have a place. There was no context, and then context came in for me in a big way in 2025 when I started to realize who I really was and that I've been targeted for my entire life, basically living a very controlled life, and that there was multiple versions of me. So the Breakaway Oracle is designed for experiencers like myself who've been military abducted, who've been mind fractured and put into these special access programs like the secret space program. People like me who may have been used as an asset and trained to do awful things on and off planet. So if you've got memories that are not quite fitting into this reality and you're very drawn to the narratives that come from the secret space program, it's quite likely that you are an asset. And I designed these cards primarily to be activating. So it could be used in 3 different ways, this deck of cards. You could use it as an educational resource just to learn more about these programs, about the factions, about the skills that people might have, or what targeting could be coming your way in your life. So it's kind of like something to jog your memory, to learn more. You can use it as a meditation resource as well. So the images contain energy that is activating. I've designed them to be activating. So you could sit with it, and you could sit and journal with an image, or see what keywords are coming in. You could sit with it in meditation and then take that image into your mind in meditation and see if it jogs your memory that way. Or you could use it as divination tool. So you can work with it as the cards themselves to say, okay, what energy is surrounding me right now? What energy could be impacting me? And where could that be coming from? Or why have I seen this particular memory, and what kind of message is that sharing? You can shuffle the cards and pick cards to help you that way. Or you can use it as an alchemy tool. So I will be uploading quite a few resources that go with this deck. So people who purchase the deck are not just getting cards, they're getting access to meditation, getting access to a masterclass in pendulum alchemy as well, to help you shift some of these unwanted energies that might be coming forward. Because this is about healing trauma. And it's multi-dimensional trauma, that it's in more than just one body, but it might be bleeding through into your body in the here and now. So it is a bit niche deck. It's not for everybody. So it's only 25 copies are being made. I have sold 10 already as the pre-order. So there's a pre-order sale price on right now, and I will be starting to ship them out probably around the 15th of June, when I get just before I go to the Bases conference. So I'll be taking them with me to the Bases International Disclosure Conference as well, here in the UK. So they are a bit unusual. They're definitely not for everybody, but for people who kind of resonate with the the information that's coming forward from the secret space programs, those special access programs where you might think that you were like myself. I was used as a scientist, I was used as a soldier, an analyst. There's lots of clones of me and things like that. All that information started to bleed through, and I thought that I was going crazy. I didn't know why I had these memories until the last year or so, when it all started to fall into place for me. So creating this deck, I actually collaborated with another super soldier who's an author. I collaborated with John Whitberg, who's got a lot of information about these breakaway colonies, about different factions and programs. So we put our heads together basically on this. We designed the images together and everything. So I designed everything, and he got say on everything. So we really collaborated on this, and it was such a good project, and I found it very healing as well. Even something as simple as thinking about you might be living in a breakaway colony. I actually tuned in to versions of my soul that were waiting to come back to me. They were waiting to be rehomed and integrated. And so me writing this deck, creating these images, so I've done all of the artistry, all the authoring, producing, everything I've done myself, printed it here in the UK. So it's not like I sent it off to China or whatever. So I've had to do a limited run. So there's only 25 that's ever going to be made of this first edition. So it might never be the same ever again. So this is like a founder copy, a piece of Anchorhaven history, somebody said, and I really like that. But yeah, so there's going to be information that you can download from the website. There's going to be meditation and other resources available for people that do purchase the deck. So this is the Breakaway. Here it is, the Breakaway Oracle. So there's 52 cards in the deck, and there's 2 cards which tell you how to use it. But then there'll be more information that you can download as a downloadable PDF. But I'm also going to be working on an expanded companion book that will go onto Amazon. So if people are not drawn to the cards, if cards are not your thing, then you might just want to wait for the book to come. Yeah, instead, then you can use that as a resource to go through. So it is for beginners. It's for people who are just discovering what makes sense. It's for people who are trying to debrief and think, okay, what does all this mean? Because I wasn't aware of any of this stuff 2 years ago. It's like it was on the surface level. Even thinking about deep underground military bases, that term dumb only came into my awareness about 3 years ago. So it's like, yeah, so whereas I realized that I had somebody missing from my life, I never imagined that they would be a super soldier twin. But when that information came forward, it made a lot of sense for me. We both have shared memories and experiences, so it's validated. Yeah. So a lot of work has gone into the deck over the last few months. So hopefully people will find it useful. You know, I hope so.
Well, it's going to help a lot of people. You know, Athena is just commenting here that she says, my husband was taught as a teen how to fight with energy, spirit. During his awakening, he learned that how he was taught to do stuff was wrong. There are many secret programs out there. And, you know, you made a good point about the mental health stigmas. Like, people really do feel like they're losing their minds because the world around them doesn't make sense anymore. They don't make sense anymore to the world around them, depending on your upbringing, epigenetics. Like, people's families are not interested in hearing this kind of stuff. It doesn't resonate with them. And it can be really scary too when you're actually pushed to go on things like medication because doctors are telling you that you're not making sense. And then we learn through stories like Julia's story that this kind of stuff really is happening. And then people who don't even know each other end up connecting and sharing the same story, who have the same information. And I love how this Oracle deck, it's targeted for beginners. And I love how there's a sense of play. You don't have to feel intimidated. You just pick whatever card from the deck. You can ask it questions, keep pulling, see the images as guidance. Like your suggestion, you could even take the book that you're coming out with that complements the Oracle. The book itself is an Oracle. You can turn to any page and receive whatever message you want, or you can read it beginning, middle, end. Some people really resonate doing that. And then it's interesting what will stir inside of you. And I really like the pendulum alchemy that comes with it too, because in truth, we are our best tools. We're our best dowsers. And so if we can get guidance from a pendulum, from that higher self, and really hone in on the certainty that comes with using a pendulum, is really powerful. I tried to, and it's trying to be trying, but these don't really do justice. What I did is I took Julia's banner here where it says pre-order now, and then I tried to like break it up to get a better zoom in of the pictures.
Yeah, it's quite hard. So I designed, you can just about see without with my background on. So there's 52 cards. So not all the cards are going to resonate. So this is about on-planet operations. There's so many different ones there. So I can hold a few up to the screen. But it's quite interesting to create these. So this one is just about space. It's about Nachtwaffen, which is a faction in space that I've got memories of being a scientist there. So it could be the imagery sparks something in people's minds, or it gives you a keyword, something to work off, something to journal with. And so it's like some people resonate. They might resonate as being a pilot and navigator, which means they've got really strong psionic, psychic skills. But in the mini guidebook that I'm creating that goes with it, that you can download from the website once it's all released, there'll be kind of resonance checks on it. So how does this apply to me? Because, if you get this one, which is the Japanese breakaway, the YNK, you're going to be thinking, Japanese, how does that, I just plug in my phone. It's saying, well, how does that apply to me? But a lot of us have got Japanese lifetimes and Germanic lifetimes as well. Just plug in. Every 15 minutes, StreamYard messes with my internet. Just switch off my camera.
Has it been 15 minutes mess up now? StreamYard, stop messing with the internet.
Yeah, it's almost to the bottom of the hour. So StreamYard messes my internet every 15 minutes. Yeah. So
this is a really phenomenal deck. Even somebody like myself, I mean, I'm still figuring it out, right? But I know I was definitely a scientist, and I was very masculine, and so
this is the scientist image that I created. Because most people, I'm going to talk about this when I do my conference presentation in 2 weeks, is it, or in a week or so? Because most people will remember the scientist memories first, because I did, because it's safer. right? I felt safer to recover those memories because I'm just sitting in a lab. I'm quite isolated. I'm hyper focused on my work. So I did genetic work. I did creating chimeras, so creating hybrids, basically pairing a humanoid with an ET. Augmenting, taking off arms and putting other things on. And so there's quite a few people who remember me as like we call it genetic genius rather than mad scientist. And oh, that's nice, Terry. Saying that my safe place to go is my podcasting community. Thank you. But yeah, so I started to create things about targeting. So twice in the last year, I've had black helicopters over my house. One time it was suspended over my house, which makes me think it was actually an ET ship projecting out a black helicopter because it felt like it was there for a long period of time. So I do get into targeting, and I look at it from 3 different angles in this deck as well, because it could be that you're targeted by handlers around you, physical people in your everyday. So for me it was people at my work or friends that appear that seem to be too good to be true, a partner that's very controlling for 20 years and things like that. So there's always people around you in your life, even if you don't realize, but there is. It could be somebody that you see every day at the bus stop who's monitoring your movements, somebody at the shop who's noticing what you buy and is doing something to that Pepsi Max when I purchase it or whatever. So there's always people in your life, but then there's also different types of targeting. So you might have the empowered interference where you're getting hit by direct energy weapons, you're getting voice to skull technology. I'm just trying to find that card now, 1 second. So, but I did include healing cards in this deck as well, because it is a trauma healing journey. So I'm not the kind of person,
Yeah, I'm glad you included healing cards because as you were talking, I thought, well, that's going to make me paranoid every time I'm out and about now. Like, who's watching my purchase? And you know what? That's exactly why we need to have these conversations because you do get paranoid. Like, I mean, part of facing the truth, like when I did my shamanic energy medicine training, part of that was me facing my fear of the ghosties and having somebody like Alberto Villaldo be straight up about stuff like that. And be honest, it helped me. It didn't scare me. What scared me was the not knowing. So if you're like me, like you would really benefit with Julia's Breakaway Oracle deck because it stirs what you haven't allowed to stir because of feelings of paranoia, feelings that you need to awaken to. And when we awaken, it's like other people start to become aware of that.
So all the work I do starts with anchoring. I am the anchor. I anchor flame energies on the planet. So everything I do is anchored, but it's also anchored in shadow strength in the darkness. So we're working with the elements because like you, I do shamanic practices. So we're working with the air element for communication, connecting into our psychic senses. We're working with water energy to heal the heart, fire energy to shield and transform. So we're working with all the elements, and then you've got the alchemists. So this is who we're becoming, and a lot of us are empowered individuals, and that's why we're targeted. So you're empowered because you have all these skills. You have all these multiple lifetimes where you've been that wise person, that magical person, and this is the lifetime when we need those skills to come forward. So I work as an alchemist, a pendulum alchemist, in fact. So this is in there as well, to teach you a little bit about alchemy and how you can make these big changes in your life and anchor them in, ground them into reality. Because we've kind of been, all this has been pushed to the back of the mind. It's been compartmentalized. It's been classified, basically. So we're in the process of debriefing, declassifying the information, bringing it forward for healing, but also alchemizing energies and information that may seem quite disturbing and traumatic, but I want to focus on the empowerment side, not the trauma side. We're healing through the trauma, and there's information in here to help you do that. Plus I'll be touching on the debrief process when I do my presentation. So I've been spending the last year kind of memory mining, so going in there. So I work in the Akashic library, but I also work with vision questing. So I've been going into my heart, which is the first eye, and I've been going deep into my organs and the fascia of my body into my mind, where all these memories are held in the chakras. They're all held there within you. And I've been connecting to my higher self to get my higher self's perspective as well, because your higher self remembers everything 360 degrees. So what I can't see the perspective of, my higher self can. Right, my higher self has got the memory that I'm missing, so I've been bringing that in for integration as well. So I might, like when I had a memory of being in a Russian lab, I can see myself, I can feel myself sitting at the counter, but there's somebody else in the room with me, but I couldn't see their face initially. And then I asked my higher self to come into the memory, and I literally embodied my higher self and went and looked at the person, and I identified them, and then I reached out to that person privately, and they confirmed, yeah, I was there. So like I would never have got that validation without seeing through the eyes of my higher self, about integrating that part of me to do that work. So I've had memories come forward, and I've been able to get the map open and track where the memory is located in the here and now. So I saw myself in a lab, and I knew it was in Russia, and I opened up the map and I did the grid work. I did, you know, the vision questing on the map to see, okay, where am I drawn to? And I isolated it, remote viewed right into the base, and then I had another 2 people verify that for me. So this information is there. You've just got to put the work in with daily meditation and then healing and integration. But there's a lot of discernment, because for me at the beginning of last year, I was integrating everything that was coming my way. Even if there was a version of me that held a lot of trauma, I was embodying it and trying to heal it through me, rather than seeing that it was there and sending healing out and asking my soul, should I be embodying this, or would you like to take that version home for healing and integration into source energy, right? So now I'm a lot more focusing on, is it helpful or harmful? So the Breakaway Oracle focuses on that aspect. Yes, this might have come up, you know, that you're in some random program, but is it helpful for you to know right now? So what's the takeaway here, right? So I look at it from a healing perspective, yeah, because primarily we're healers. Realizing that I was that asset and that I've always been the asset is kind of in the background for me, because this version of me, Julia, is a healer. Anchor Haven is the asset. That is actually my code name in programs, yeah? And I didn't know that when I named my business Anchor Haven, right? That was a bleed through. So that's quite weird, yeah.
Nope, I love it. I love it. And I was just like writing notes here because I tend to brain fart it out. But I feel like a lot of what you're saying right now was reflective in the gemstone reading that we just did. I don't even know, because the cards that you just flashed spontaneously, like the light, we talked about you rising and shining your light. And having assistance with that. We talked about the discernment piece, treating your dream life just like your waking life. You wouldn't get in a car with a stranger, and like you're coming up with that. And also the part about alchemy, but also another part about shadows and strength, because a lot of people think shadows are evil, they're bad. You know what? Shadows are just another part of us, you know? And there's a time and a place for those shadows that are seemingly scary to have a voice.
Strength in the darkness. Because the way I work with shadow healing is that your diamonds are forged in the dark under the greatest pressure. So that's when I do shadow healing with my wellness groups, that's what we're doing. We're going into the darkness, but we're bringing so much light, to reflect and bounce off those diamonds. So so there is shadow healing to be done. This is a trauma healing journey, and a big aspect of that is healing your heart, and especially healing your solar plexus as well. Your personal power takes a massive hit, your throat takes a big hit, so it's bringing everything back into balance. So shadow strength in the darkness, that's an aspect of the work that I do at Anchor Haven.
So it's like there's a connection to chakras too in your oracle. It just defaulted to like, you know, the throat chakra, the heart chakra. And so I can see how your Breakaway Oracle could even be an oracle series. And I think about the gemstone reading commenting that you have like a whole new like life now, a new matrix. And to me, this is exciting because even your social media is alchemizing, like your biography, it would kind of like was changing a little bit because of all of this exciting news coming out. And the very language, anchoring, Anchor Haven, that was your code name was Anchor, the business of the anchor in the water, you know, on the boat, holding the boat in place, the sinking in, the grounding that comes with it. And you've said memory mining. I've never heard that expression before. I really like that expression, memory mining, because, you know, when you're mining for gold and stuff, you might find other things that distract you. So when you're memory mining, you got to stay focused on your healing or whatever it is. And then, and I also wrote down trauma, because transforming trauma into treasures, because story medicine is so powerful and can be so potent that sometimes it gets addictive and it becomes a problem. People they get caught in their stories. The stories become so familiar that it creates a sense of safety, even though it's traumatic and triggering. But in truth, feeling traumatic and triggered is what's familiar to you, and that's what keeps you safe. And it's making these connections and breaking away, like that language, break away, oracle, like not just break away civilizations, but also breaking away from this programming, breaking away from this fog and this subconscious programming, these thoughts, feeling, opinions that aren't even our own, and the vulnerability that comes with it. Like when you reached out to somebody and you were like, hey, I remember you. Do you remember me? Like, what about if that person didn't feel safe and told you no?
Yes. So I do have experience,
you know?
with this, because not many people remembered me for a long time. It was like I was cloaked. And then I had a session with somebody and they uncloaked me, and suddenly people could start to see me then. But there was somebody that I reached out to and I literally said, you know, I have this memory of you. Is it okay if we connect? And they responded with boundaries, saying, I was there, but I do not have the capacity to go into this right now. And I totally respect that. I really do. And it's not easy to hear, but even with my dyad, even with my super soldier brother, he distanced himself from me. So we had an initial connection. We knew it was true and it had been confirmed in the records and things, and we felt the energetic connection, but he didn't respond to messages. And then for a long time, I was thinking, what have I done? Is there something wrong with me? But it's because he's integrating his own trauma healing journey. And for somebody who remembers everything about me, the light and the dark, right, different versions of me, so he has memories of me that if I knew the truth, I could potentially unalive myself, because it's so awful. So in a way, he is protecting me from my own darkness, from things that he knows. So he's taking his time, because I didn't, at the beginning, I wasn't thinking about, well, I've got this memory. Is that other person going to be okay to receive the memory? I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking what they remembered and how traumatic it was. I wasn't seeing past my own memory of sort of just seeing them running, or being on a ship with them, or waking up in a lab. So the very first memory, I was waking up in a lab after a mission, and they were opposite me and they were asleep, and I was being kind of like fed with like a nanotech, like a femto. So I said, I've had this memory, we're connected somehow, and we did a Zoom, but the energy was very heightened, and I knew that this person and I did not really have a good connection in a way, because there's trauma. I knew I could feel the trauma, but I didn't really want to spend that much time with this person because of the trauma. But I couldn't really see past the initial encounter that they got the memory cascade coming in, because we get a flood of memories at times. And that cascade can put you into psychosis if you're not careful. So we have to be very careful about who we approach. And I had a lady reach out to me in the last few months and say, I remember you and you hurt me, but it's okay, I forgive you. So there's going to be plenty of people who start to come forward in the next year or so who start to remember, I remember you as this genetic genius who was evil, because that's the training that we went through. We were basically living in a mirror world where everyone was bad, or you were programmed to do a certain job. And I laugh because it's uncomfortable, because I can't fathom it. But yeah, there's going to be plenty of people that do not have the capacity to deal with these connections. And I'm quite fortunate that the person I'm connected to is a sibling energy and not a romantic trauma twin energy, because that for some people is just awful, and they really have terrible trouble integrating. They try and rebond with that person, and that sometimes can be the worst thing to do, because then you end up in a situation where feelings are heightened, but they're not for this reality. Do you know what I mean? It's not even for this reality. The person I'm bonded to, we've known each other for 300,000 years. We've come from the same soul family. We incarnated on this planet together at the same time, because I've done a lot of work into this. And I actually asked, why am I here? And I realized he was coming.
Hey, Julia, sorry to interrupt. Scooch
Yeah.
over a bit, because you're like this in my other view. Okay, you're good now.
Okay, so it looks fine on my screen. Yeah, so I realized that they were coming to Earth, and I just wanted to make sure they were safe, and that's why I came to Earth. It's like I'd had no plan to come here except to protect that other person, right? To protect my brother. But then as soon as we arrived, we ended up getting captured and kind of put into these programs straight away. So yeah, so sometimes you do have to be very, very careful who you reach out to, because they may or may not remember you. And even if they do, it's probably unhealthy. The connection is not healthy, because these programs were all trauma-based.
You know, somebody told me years ago in my childhood, if anybody ever approaches you and says, I know you, or you and I were siblings in a past life, to turn around and run the other way. And I thought, well, why? Wouldn't we want to connect? And it's like, what was up with that in my childhood, and now making connections today. When you were talking, I wrote down trauma bonding, because it's true. A lot of people tend to be really bonded, but how? Through trauma. That is like such a toxic way to be bonded with somebody, especially in super soldier programs, because things like rape happen, people are getting tortured. And again,
they literally break you. So you go through a process of being broken, and they break you with like rituals and abuse and torture, because they want to fracture your mind. And your mind can be fractured into over 2,000 personalities, and each personality can be extracted and put into a clone body to become 2,000 assets, basically. Yeah, so they put you through a breaking process, but they do that when you're a child, because you're the most receptive as a child, which is very awful. So I do have memory of being drowned, and I thought that this was something that happened in the here and now when I was like 7, 8 years old. I have a memory of being in a swimming pool. There was a man pushing me under the water to the point I left my body. But in my memory, my dad dives in to save me. And recently I discovered that's not true. It's a screen memory, something that was placed in my mind to cover up the truth of that I was actually, that happened to me over and over, but it was in the programs. So at Project Phoenix, so at Montauk. And I know you've spoken to Chris Latterer quite a bit, so he has Montauk stories. I generally try not to talk too much about it, because people get stuck in the breaking process and they don't move past it. Whereas I want to know, why was I going through that? Okay, they were training me to be an asset. I was a time soldier. So what happened then? What time missions did I go on? What was I doing? I was retrieving artifacts. Okay, where was that? What artifacts was I retrieving, and what happened to them? So that's the kind of perspective that I take. So, but I did have an alter come forward recently because of that drowning experience. I actually heard somebody's voice. So I watched a video, somebody suggested a name. So I thought, well, I'll look up this person, and I heard their voice, and all they said was, hello, everybody. And my whole body went into panic attack, overwhelmed, to the point I was almost buckled on the floor with trauma memories coming forward. And an aspect of me that had been locked away in my mind, a 7-year-old called Kit Kat, who was my survival alter, came out. And Christy Campbell, CC33, was able to tune in to that version of me. So because I'd been through all these torturous moments, my mind had fractured naturally. And it created a survival personality. So Julia was pushed to the back, and Kit Kat came forward. So Kit Kat is just another version of Anchor Haven that will always be 7 years old. But she went through that breaking process. I touch on this in my presentation. So this is triggering for some people. This is why I don't talk about Project Phoenix very often, because generally in these Monarch programs, that's where you go to have your mind fractured. Most of my time was spent in Kruger programs where they work on your body. But yeah, so in my presentation, I talk do a bit of a brief overview about global Monarch programs. So I wasn't just used, I didn't just grow up in Canada as that other aspect of me at the Monarch Deep Underground military base there, and in America at Project Phoenix. I was literally transferred all over the planet in the here and now. So I thought I was a backpacker traveling around the world. I wasn't. I was reassigned into multiple projects, and that's what I get into in my presentation. That's why it was hard for me to put it into 35 minutes, because there's a lot of information. So in my presentation on the 13th at the Summer Days conference, I just do a very brief introduction. And even with the Breakaway Oracle cards, I could only do 52 cards. And really, you could have 350, right? You really could. So yeah, you're right. It probably will be a series of cards. But the very first limited edition is releasing this month. So that's exciting.
And I meant to make this comment earlier, but the limited edition, for those of you tuning in, is physically going to Julia's like home. So she's going to be touching them, and just like the spiritual energy is already there, but now that physical contact will be with the actual Julia Anchorhaven. So that's really cool.
I'm going to be blessing every single deck separately. And I'm literally going to be doing drumming and things like that and crystal activations on each deck separately, because there's only 25, so I might as well. So I'm going to air out each one. I'm going to spend time with it. I'm going to do heart blessings, drumming, and other activations with the deck. Plus, they've already got my energy in anyway, because I spent so much time creating the images. But yeah, I'm really going to sit with 25 different decks one by one over the next 2 weeks. That's why they're not releasing until like the 15th, because I've got them. I'm going to do sacred ceremony with them. Yeah.
Wow. And you know what? That'll give you time too for like another moon cycle to come in effect. And anybody who gets these oracle cards is going to be a real treasure for them to have. And I'll show my BMAC again at some point to highlight Julia's presentation there. But I wrote a few things down because like going back to the masculine, feminine, you're very masculine spiritually. And you came here to do what? Protect. You're the sister, and you came to protect the brother, right? That was maybe that kid cat aspect of you. And then I was glancing over your presentation, and somewhere, and this cute picture of you, by the way, as a kid, that there's a comment where there's like a age 15-year-old you, and that's the kid cat. Maybe I'm getting mixed up, but
no,
I connected with age 14, Gina.
The smallest one, the blonde-haired one, that's Kit Kat. She's only 7. But when you see the picture of me next to her, I've got black eyes, and that's the here and now picture, where you can see that I've definitely got some kind of activation there. So you'll clearly see it when you go back on the presentation now. So the smallest version, that's when I was mind fractured at age 7. Yeah, that's when they do it. But the older aspects of me between 14 and 16, that's when I went through like the final training, like brutal martial arts training before they send you out as assets and time missions. It's around 15 years old when you get full on, and you basically die over and over and over to brutalize you through this training. So you can see the difference in the two pictures of me. One, I look quite happy at age 14 because my mind's been wiped. But the age 16 version of me, you can see I've literally been through something quite traumatic in that.
I'll have to look closer at those, which is another good reason why people listening should buy a ticket for Julia's presentation, which was hell for her to present, which I'm sure we'll get into that. When you talk about being a time soldier, what exactly do you mean by time soldier? I don't get that. Like, are you like going from this year to that year? Are you in charge of time? Tell me everything.
Yeah. So there's an aspect in my presentation where I talk about when I tuned into another version of me last year. And she was 15 years old, but she was on a time mission. So in these projects, especially Project Phoenix and some of the merge missions that I was on, which is now the team I was in, so they target people specifically who have got Celtic lineage DNA and who have ability to open portals and stargates. So ancient technology. Well, those of us who have like psychic abilities that are so powerful, we can open up portals to other realms of existence, to other time streams. I call myself an Akashic Oracle Weaver, and this has come from Aralam, who is like a conscious being who's watched me do this. So as an anchor, myself and my dyad Drago Reed, we both anchor time. We anchor timelines. That's what we do. So if we opened up a portal, we'd be anchoring that across time and space to make sure people would come in and out. So he and I working together as a dyad, as a pair, he would be on a mission and I would anchor him into that mission, into that timeline, and vice versa.
And just to clarify, when you say anchor a timeline, like if I was a portal, had the power to open a portal and I was you or Draco, I could like anchor, hold the energy so nobody's gonna die because the portal closes or gets stuck in one dimension.
Yeah.
Are you also simultaneously like a gatekeeper? So it's like no, like while the portal's open, no other dimensions are sneaking their way in intentionally or not. Okay.
So when I see time, it's like when I look at cards. So I see, when I fan out the cards, to me they're different timelines, different options. So when I scan the cards, when I do readings for people, certain timelines will present themselves. So I'm looking for setting the intention for the highest timeline, the highest good, and that's why I pick cards for people. There's a version of me that's called Angelique, and this is not in the presentation, but last year I started to tune into this aspect of me, Angelique, who is still a version of me. She's got a piece of my soul, you know, and I tuned into the fact that she was on the moon, which is a base. So Luna is a moon base, but she was kind of trapped there. And I telepathed with her, and I used my pendulum to find out what was going on. And she, like me, had the same Celtic abilities to be able to open up realms and, you know, connect in with the elemental beings, like Tuatha De Danann DNA. But she was being used and captured on the moon base to open up the Stargate on the moon and to extend its reach further than our current galaxy. So they were anchoring her energy to open up a stable time stream so that they could extend it to multiple Stargates at the same time. But I had it verified by a couple of other people that she was trapped over there and it wasn't good. They were draining her basically. So it was a couple of peers of mine actually went to try and retrieve her, and then I was able to kind of integrate her back into this version of me. So it's like she stands beside me. So she's still in my energetic field. We're still connected, but she is an anchor node for one timeline, whereas I anchor in another. So, and then there are moments when we merge together to anchor in this highest timeline. So like the regressive forces are always messing with the time streams, and the time streams are actually conscious beings. So there are moments where we have to support them to make sure the time streams are safe, because they're conscious beings. It's not like it's hard to explain really, but so this version of us,
I know what you mean.
Okay, thank you.
The like everything is conscious, and if it's not, it will become conscious. But somebody like yourself, like if I was a scientist, you know, experimenting, I always use myself as an example. But if I was experimenting on you, and I desired to merge timelines or to move this over here, then it would be very ideal for me to kidnap somebody like you, and then just, you know, throw ethics to the side and drain your energy like a battery and just, you know, dispose of you and get another clone alter. But at some point that runs out. And so then what happens? So I can
well, it's a bit tricky
why they slice and dice you so much.
Last year there's 24 million versions of me on and off planet. So I'm not running.
Party, right? It sounds like a good time. 24 million Julias. All right. Let's anchor ourselves down.
So when this number came out of my ACO records, and somebody else had looked into my record and said, oh, there's 10,000 clones of you. And I was like, whoa, that's insane. And then when I got the ACO records pulled, which are like multi-dimensional military files, like a very deep Akashic record, and then they use computer technology as well. And they said, actually, it's closer to like 24 million. So I worked with a friend of mine to see, are they all positive? And no, they were not. So there was versions of me that were being used as food, versions of me that were being used nefariously. So we basically worked together quantumly to uncreate certain versions of me and take that soul essence, because each clone needs a drop of my soul, a soul bite, like an operating system, a shard of my soul. So, and you know, and your soul is massive, so it's not like it's but it does drain me, because there was 24 million. It did lower my energies. So I work as like a primary function, like an operating system, like a management. So we started to kind of collapse and dissolve out versions that we use nefariously to save them in a way. But when we talk about clones, I don't know if you've seen Orphan Black. Have you watched that TV show? No, you're terrible with TV shows. Okay, so Orphan Black is a soft disclosure TV show which is based on the Kruger cloning program. Oh, sorry. So it looks okay on my screen. I don't know why, if it looks okay on the video here. And so yeah, Orphan Black is a soft disclosure TV show that's based on, and this has been confirmed, it's based on the Kruger cloning program that Drago Reed and I were in. So it's based on similar information to ourselves. So when you see that character, not only does she look like me in every single version, I've had my hair exactly like that, but there's also a male version, a brother. So this is how I kind of connected to realize, hold on, I've actually met a version of myself in France in 2016. So I bring that into my presentation. So I know what it feels like to see a clone, to see another person that looks like me. So as to see another piece of my soul within meters away, it's very uncomfortable. You get an alert. But when I was watching the TV show, I realized she's exactly like me. This is so bizarre. And I started to really feel like this is like my life. What is going on? And then there's a brother in the show. So it was, I went to see somebody and I said, I feel like that show is based on me. And I know I've seen a clone of me. And they said, that is exactly like you, but there's a brother. And I can see that this brother is this person, which is Drago Reed. And then as soon as they said it, memories started to come forward of me and him together in these programs. So I can't remember where I was going with this now. But each clone that's made of you, each biological copy, which may or may not look like you, if it's got a piece of your soul in it, it becomes part of you. Yeah. So I work as a management system. So I can open a map in my mind that will show me where clones are potentially. And this is very dangerous to put out there, that people know that. But what I've realized is, because I can have a management connection to the clone, which we call an echo, so you have an echo chain, a link of clones connected to you, because I have this overseeing kind of aspect to me, I'm targeted and kept safe. Okay, so I'm in a targeting program. So for whoever wants to target me, you know, nefariously, there's other factions that want to keep me alive because of the clones. So in a way, I'm a bit like Voldemort. Do you get Harry Potter references? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in Harry Potter, Voldemort has split his soul.
I watched the first one.
Okay, good, thank you. You get brownie points. So he split his soul into Horcruxes, and to kill Voldemort, you literally need to find and track down every bit of soul bites, yeah, which is the Horcrux. Whether he's put it in an object or a person, whatever, you've got to find it. So it kind of works the same way with us. So each clone has a management system, and the actual primary generally might be off the planet. So, you know, they wouldn't normally keep the original version of you on this planet where you're only going to live 80 years, when they could keep your original version on Mars where you could easily live 200 years. It's very different out there. So, yeah, so when it comes to clones and connecting in, that's something that I have an ability to do now. And everything opened up for me the moment I realized that was true. Right. So in my presentation, I talk about seeing through the eyes of my clones, but also connecting in with another version of me that wasn't a clone. It was me on a time mission. 35 years ago, I went on the mission to come to the here and now, 35 years in the future. But because we were in the same time stream, my mind connected into her mind, and I embodied my younger body for a minute or so. It was very odd, but I got to talk to her and she showed me memories, but it was me when I was 15. It was very strange.
Yeah, and then back when you were 15, having this experience, wondering what is going on, and now you're in today's present moment going back there. That's phenomenal. And, you know, all this talk about clones, like, which one? I mean, like if I said to you, hey, Julie, I remember you, and you punched me out in a past life, and now I'm approaching you about it. Like, how do I know?
This version. Yeah, it might not be this version of me. It might be an alter that's put in another body. So it's still me.
What do you do with that? Yeah, what do you do with that? Like, I mean...
Yeah, so it's still me, but I might not have that memory until that version of me kind of expires and I integrate that back in. So there's multiple versions of me at any one time in multiple projects. So so Drago Reed remembers me as Anchorhaven, but we were used as the physical versions of us were used to be trained together. So I was physically taken through Portal to Montauk. I was physically taken through a portal to the Dom in Toronto, right? So, but there's also versions of me where I connected into Montauk in a vision quest, but I was a boy. I was an 8-year-old boy who was like blonde. So that boy was created as a different copy. So he was just a random DNA perhaps, or maybe he was a male version of me created, but he had a drop of my soul in there. So he was still me. So when I had that vision quest and I was able to connect into that version of me, I integrated him. So I've got his memories. Yeah. So it's very complicated. It's very strange to think of yourself multidimensionally. But in certain factions, they take the physical version of you. So this body goes, but they'll take you within like a minute millisecond in a way and bring you back within that millisecond as well. So there's no disruption to the time and space in a way, but I might go on a mission for 20, 40, 60 years and then come back into the exact moment or a few seconds either side of when I left. So it is very complex. So when you work with Monarch, yes, they like to take you Monarch and Nachtwaffen, they take you your physical body. When you work in like Kruger, they'll have a clone waiting there for you. So they just do a consciousness transfer. Yeah. Okay.
When they come and take you, like when they suspend time and space and you're gone for like 60 years or whatever,
yeah,
that tells me that there's somebody else doing what you do, being that time grounder anchor so that they can do that. And then it makes me curious, do they desire to do that? Do you desire
it's kind
to
of,
go?
Think of it as I'm multi-positioned. So I'm in two places at the same time in a way, because you're dealing with seconds of difference. Yeah. So it's not like my family would notice that I'm not in my bed, because I'm coming back within like microseconds in a way. So, but yeah, you're right. So it could be that just there's a piece of me that's like right now, there's clones of me that are in Japan that have a piece of my soul. And they're living their life and they've got their own name, their own family, their own identity, but they're still me because they're my DNA and they're my soul. And I can shift my consciousness from me to them at any one time. Not everybody can do that, but I can. So I had an example last year. I could have been China. I'm not sure if it's China or Japan. I'm not too sure now. But I remember walking into a building and going into the lift, into the elevator, riding the elevator up. And I'm at the back of this person's mind, and I'm Asian, but I'm at the back of her mind. And she was going into a meeting. She sits down, she takes a pad and paper, and I think I'm looking around through her eyes thinking, I don't think I'm meant to be in this meeting. And I came back into my body. So because I'm working in a vision quest quantumly, I can access everything through the 0 point field. So I can tune into wherever my soul is, basically. So it's weird. It's batshit crazy. Yeah. So this is why this 30-minute presentation was very hard to put together. So I'm just lightly touching on these things in the presentation. And then, yeah, so
Julia wanted to give up her Q&A for those of you tuning in. And I was like, no, you're not giving up your Q&A. You get 35 minutes tops. But you did it, and vision questing is really important because the part of the quest is people think, oh, I'm going to get answers. But really, the quest is questing more and more questions and more questions. When you talk about dropping the soul in each, like I picture the scientists making clones of you, but they have like this little jar of your soul and they put a little dash of Julia in each one. And with me comes the power of simplicity. I don't have a science background, but it made me think about elixirs because I use vodka when I do my spirit water. And if I wanted to add a little bit of this into another bottle, then this essence would live on. But if I just smash this against the wall, then it's gone forever. So,
exactly.
We're made of water and there's that pushing, pulling energy of the moon. And it made me think about things like control and how the very essence of water could be playing a role in this and light. And it just, I thought it was really interesting.
I can talk about the vision quest process a little bit because I do live vision questing with Sean Bond on his channel every couple of months.
This is where you get more than 35 minutes. So
So So I work with Sean Bond, who is a very empowered person. He's very shamanic, very sacred space holder in his own way. He's got very high authority is how I think of it, because I feel very safe when I work with Sean Bond. And when we do live vision questing, I generally have an intention or a memory that I want to explore. But this process could take us 2 to 3 hours. And because it's the quest, so we start off with a side quest, getting relaxed, getting comfortable. One of the last ones we did, we actually got a mission coming from Zeus. So we started to see Mount Olympus was there, but it actually needed some kind of healing to like the environment of it. So we went on this vision quest to kind of collect things, and we did some work to the environment, and we got a medal from Zeus and that kind of thing. Then we went on to the next side quest. So we're doing this process of side questing, and I'm going deeper and deeper into my mind. I say there's a memory vault at the back because it feels like the memories are coming up and over. Up and over, that's how it feels. And in a way, Sean Bond bypasses security protocols that are in place, vaults that have been locked off by the secret space programs. Because I have tried to do QHHT in the past with a friend here in the UK, but I just knew that they could not access that vault. That I was like a winter soldier, and you needed an access phrase or code. And I talk about that in my program when I actually did hear an access code and how it unlocked my mind. But with Sean Bond, it's as if we're bypassing it by going very, very deep into the vision quest. But then you get to a process and you're getting closer and closer to the memory vault. So alarms start to go off, and your mind starts to throw challenges at you. And at one point, the floor dropped away in my mind, and it was like Indiana Jones in there. And we were having to like traverse the walls and things to get forward. Or I saw Anubis come forward, and I knew instantly that that was something very dark, and I banished it to the back of my mind. Yeah. So it's like an empowerment journey that you're taking when you do a vision quest with Sean Bond. And we started to get closer and closer to the memories that we were looking for, but we had to battle through. So it's quite fascinating, the journey, because we're doing a partnered vision quest. There's certainly some things that he could not see, whereas we've done it before. We've gone on a vision quest together, and he'd actually created a landscape as he's talking through the journey. And I said to him, how do you know that landscape? That's something I've created in my mind. So he was telepathing with me and voicing my own landscape to me. It was very bizarre. But while we're doing all this, it was live streaming, and there was like 30 people in the audience following along, doing their own vision quest in a way. So we do it as an educational resource. But yeah, so it's a journey where you do several side quests before you actually access the memory vault. And then when I did access the memory vault, it was very surprising what I found in there. I basically realized that I've been living a double life in India for 10 years. And I clearly saw and spent a day in the life of me in the Indian secret space programs. Yeah, so it was so bizarre. But that had been locked away, compartmentalized. But working with Sean Bond, I was able to slowly access and kind of gain the confidence of my memory vault. Yeah. So it's like your mind doesn't want you to access things that are scary or dark, and it puts obstacles in your way. So we had to quest through the process, and it took us 3 hours. And that was all live streamed.
That's amazing. And compartmentalized, that terminology came up a lot in my teaching career, and it comes up a lot too when people are I feel like in a lot of professional backgrounds, committee meetings, information tends to be compartmentalized because it's better controlled, it's more secretive, and it's harder to access. And your mind's number one job is to protect you, even if it means lying to you and creating false inhibiting beliefs. And when you were talking about your journey and whatnot and timelines, I thought about that female jaguar, because you're like earlier when you were talking, you went like this with your hand, like as if you had your oracle cards and you were making a line, like a timeline. And I thought, that's like the river or something, like your oracle cards reading left to right. And then it would be interesting, your vision questing with Sean Bond, if this business of the river comes up. And also made me think of the river of time, which I didn't make that connection when we were doing the gemstone reading earlier.
There actually was like a waterfall. Have you watched the movie The Goonies?
Yes,
Yes,
I
okay, so
watched
you know
that
when they
one
go down that
a long
sliding
time
chute
ago.
and they end up in the lagoon inside a cave, but there's like a ship or whatever. There was like that kind of thing in my mind. So we did go on like a water journey, and then we got into this big pool, which is like a memory and emotions pool, you know? So yeah, so that kind of thing does come up in the Vision Quest. Yeah.
Memories, emotions, the emotion part, the
Yeah.
females associated with the water.
Yeah.
I wrote down a lot of things. I wrote uh, just for the sake of saying it, I mean, your level of comfort, however deep you want to go. But when you said Project Phoenix, for me, I think about Phoenix as in the Phoenix rising, like the eagle condor dying and rebirthing and turning to ashes. That's the metaphor I work with. So when you talk about Project Phoenix, I'm like, ooh, that's like synchronicity. But then also for me, my dragon is so pitch dark purple that it looks black, and he was masculine. That dragon died, rose from the ashes, and became the orange dragon, for me anyways, known as Isis. And I associate Isis as the phoenix. And so I feel like there's connections I haven't made yet, but Project Phoenix I feel like is linked to somehow to Project 30, Isis Unity Consciousness.
No.
And
So Project Phoenix is the government name for a project that you might have heard as Montauk when Chris Latour was talking about that torture project. That's the actual file name is Project Phoenix, and it's about time missions. Most people call it the Montauk Project, but the actual name is the Project Phoenix. Yes,
I'm familiar with Montauk, but not the
Yeah,
Project
it's
Phoenix.
the same
Okay.
project. It's the same project, and it's not good. Yeah, not good. So, but
Because
yeah,
the power about me is I'm the village idiot and I thrive off of that. I used
not
to
at
be
all, not at all.
uncomfortable about it, but like
Yeah,
because like Julia said, I don't watch a lot of scary movies or anything.
I did make a card, and I'll show you the card. So the
Oh,
card
okay.
itself should be empowering for Project Phoenix. So because we're not giving into the negative narratives when we do the Breakaway Oracle, we're talking about it to bring it out, but we want to focus on the positive aspect. So you see the Phoenix there. So of course we're tuning into that transformational energy, and then you've got the hourglass representing the time missions. But yeah, so it was called Project Phoenix, which a lot of people just refer to as the Montauk Project, but both of them have got negative energy on those names. So in the Breakaway Oracle deck, we'll be looking at the healing aspect of healing from Project Phoenix. So re-changing that narrative so there is something more positive. Yeah, like shamanically, we think of the Phoenix like as a transformation, don't we? Rebirthing. Yeah, so unfortunately, it's just got a really shitty name for that project, and we need to
take it back,
energy,
right?
take it back,
You know
reclaim
what?
it. Yes, yeah.
That reminds me of here in North America, the word uh, queer, the weird queer used to be so derogatory. Like people who identified as queer, they called themselves queer. That was a name they gave themselves. But then people were making fun of queer so bad that the word queer became derogatory. It was like a bad word, don't say it. But in the queer community, at least here in Canada, they're like, no, that's who we are. That's our name. Call us queer. That's, like obviously not making fun of us, but that like we're taking the name back. So when you're talking about us, call us queer. And I feel like when you're talking about like Phoenix, like that's what I'm hearing. It's like you should be able to say Project Phoenix and like feel good about it, not just associate it with something bad.
Chris has got his book, and people talk about the Montauk boys, and that term references girls as well. It's not just about boys. And so the Montauk boys is kind of like that's everybody who went through those programs, everybody who died, and the small amount of people that remain. So the Montauk boys is used as an affectionate term, I think, by some people, to kind of remember those that passed on. And even in my deck, it says to everybody that's lost, we will remember you. We stand united. So there is I'm just got a flush of energy then. So we do honor everybody that went through those projects. And because of the MK Ultra, the mind control, mind fracturing, 80% of people died. right? They really did. It's a very high number of people did not make it through the breaking process. So us talking about it, we're doing it to honor the energy of the fallen warriors. Yeah. And some of them were very, very young, very young indeed, but they didn't make it through. So so we do talk about it, we do bring it forward, and we do try and reclaim the wording in a positive light so that we bring it as a healing aspect, because primarily I'm a healer. Unfortunately, there's aspects of me that were used in the programs to do very terrible science projects where you wouldn't think that, okay, you're a healer now, but look at you then. When people remember, they're not going to be happy and they won't want to talk to me. And I have one of my best friends, I say to them, when you remember me properly, you're not going to be my friend. Yeah, because I just know what I'm capable of. And my dyad remembers what I'm capable of as well. Remembers seeing me at my worst and things like that. So yeah, so that is hard connection to have. I do not have all my memories. Yeah, I only have a very small percentage of my memories. So I do have a lot more than others, but I have a small percentage of them. So it is quite tricky. Let's see this question
Yeah,
here. How many
Jules has a
times
comment.
we would have been considered dead? Yeah, but put in the regen tanks. So we were basically put through so much brutality in training to the point that we stopped breathing, and then they put you through a regeneration process and revive you and reclone you and that kind of thing. So I was talking recently on my channel about, somebody sent me a video about a spy in North Korea and how the process they went through for training and how brutal that was. And there was an image of the woman sitting there with 3 blades in front of her, 3 daggers, and she was explaining how they had to stab themselves in the stomach over and over. And that activated a memory that I was going through last August, when I remember seeing my partner, my dyad, my brother in the SSP, walking up to him looking happy, but then from behind my back I was bringing out a dagger and stabbing him in the stomach. Now I know that was training. Yeah, that I was put through that training, and he had to do the same thing to me. And it was just training to desensitize you, and you'd be regenerated over and over and over, so that it just became nothing. So you died hundreds of times, and that's just part of the job. Yeah, so it's awful, but we need to be able to talk about it to heal the energy on it. Yeah.
Yes, and my understanding is when it comes to cells and cloning, that the cloned cells are not comparable to the original cell ever. And that's a big problem with cloning, because the
Okay,
clone,
this
they
depends on the
die
quality.
easily, the
Yeah, of the
quality's not there, it
technology.
falls apart, the
Yeah,
forms
so that
won't hold.
Oh, see, that's not true for all of them. So it depends what lab you're in, basically. It depends what technology you have available and where the DNA, the soul technology has come from. So, yeah, you might have, like you see in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you see low quality clones are out there in public, and you see them malfunctioning and things like that, but they could actually be synthetics as well. So it's got a synthetic body, but it's got a human brain and a soul bite or whatever. But so you can get very good quality clones. So those that were used in the programs generally would be good quality. I've not identified any of me that I thought were really like low vibe quality. I don't know, but it does depend on what program you're in, what faction, what access they have to technology, and how much money they've probably got. I don't know. So yeah, so I don't remember too much. So James is saying high quality clones are stabilized. Yeah, so a good quality clone would be probably used in the secret space programs and things. Generally, what you see in the government, you can see that they are poor quality clones, but everybody in Hollywood basically is a clone already. They always have been. Yeah, so the real version of them is held off planet on Mars. Like even like Angelina Jolie, there's a version of her in the breakaways and things like that. There really is. Yeah, so people have seen it. I don't remember that myself, but people have mentioned that they see famous people off planet all the time. So the version on planet is a clone.
It's really interesting, and I've heard all kinds of stories too, that like celebrities and whatnot, they were already figured out and organized before they came to this planet. It was just like an
Yeah.
unfolding process. I had a little laugh when you said malfunction, because in my dream life, that's what I do. I malfunction, and but that's part of my awakening and me becoming consciousness, like conscious and autonomous at that. Um, So
Yeah.
that was really interesting. Earlier, you mentioned a green memory. Maybe I misunderstood that. But is a green memory like a fake memory, a happy
Oh,
memory
screen.
installed?
Yes, screen, like a screen in
Screen
place.
memory.
Screen, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Screen.
that
Okay.
is like a fake memory. So a lot of the time they wipe your mind so that you don't remember what's happened. But every now and then they will put a screen in place. If they couldn't wipe the memory or they wanted you to remember something, they, like for me, it was the swimming pool memory. So they put a screen in place. And what they did, I only really recently in the last couple of months realized that that wasn't fully what my memory is supposed to be. They changed the location, right? So I thought it was in a hotel nearby in Liverpool. It wasn't. It was in Montauk. Yeah. So they changed the location. They changed the surroundings on the memory, so that I would know that I'd had that experience, that I almost died, but in reality, I had died and I've been regenerated and put back into training. So, but they, for some reason, let me keep that memory. So I don't know if they'd had trouble wiping it from my mind because it was so traumatic, because that survival altar had been created naturally in my mind to protect Julia. So Kit Kat came forward, but yeah, they put a screen in place. So sometimes people have got memories and they're not real. They're not real memories. The details will have been changed. And a lot of people in your memory, you cannot see people's faces. They use technology to kind of fade out people's faces. That's quite normal.
Do you ever wonder if Kit Kat or another part of you put that screen in there, that maybe there's a part of you that was like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Like
It's
maybe there's a part
possible.
of you that's the
Yeah.
scientist doing this.
It's possible that my mind naturally did that my mind tried to
It
alter it and it wasn't the
spontaneously
programs.
came
Yeah.
about, right? So
Yeah,
who's
so
to
she
say?
came in to see. I believe that she was naturally created because I was dying. So my mind naturally created her. Whereas, like the other altars, and I know I've got like 35 other ones that I've identified, they were created under the trauma of the programs. So they have different aspects that have been trained and programmed to do certain things and stuff. But yeah, it's possible that my mind changed that memory to protect me. That is a possibility. Yeah.
I bet that's very scary to the scientists who created you and behind all this, because that's the point where they can't control. And it's kind of like just using power of simplicity here, but like colors, the whole rainbow spectrum is inside of you. So Kit Kat, for example, is like the color purple, but you don't see the color purple. You only see the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Well, and then all of a sudden the scientists are like, what the hell is this purple? There's Kit Kat all of a sudden, so, and when you were talking about wiping the brain, Chris Latier and I had an interesting conversation because his mind has been wiped so many times over, and yet he still has these memories creeping up. But I'm telling you, like from a hypnotherapist perspective, the mind can only handle one issue at a time. So what are these scientists doing? Like, it just, I guess it bothers me, because if you're going to do something, you might want to do it right. But if you have like
Yeah.
300,000 million billion memories that need to be wiped, then that means you need 300,000 million billion mind swiping processes done with an integration period that follows, because the biological one you are requires that time. Like they keep denying your biology. They keep abusing and using your biology to the point of exhaustion where you die. And then your memories, I don't think they're haunting you. I think they're haunting the scientists. And it defaults
Well,
to haunting
think
you
of
because you're
it
the one
as
remembering it.
so say my mind is split into 50 different personalities, and each one has a different access code. Say you come to me and you say the color blue, and then a different personality will come forward because you said that access code. That personality will be trained to do a specific job, and then after they do that job, the memory gets wiped and it goes back and Julia comes back forward, right? So the mind of an asset is completely compartmentalized to that point. So recently I was listening to somebody talk on a video, and that everybody's terrified of this person who's passed away now, but they're notorious from the programs. And I heard their voice and I found myself being very calm. And then I realized 20 minutes has gone by and I basically altered out into a different personality who was waiting for that voice to say the right code, the right word, because that voice, that person was my handler from a program. right? So somebody that I had been bonded with, who I trusted, that they knew what keys and codes to say, and that would activate a specific personality. Yeah. So sometimes it's the things people say. So I heard somebody say a phrase on a video, and that activated implants in my body. It activated a memory cascade, a flood to come in. So yeah, it's very programmed and isolated. So each personality is isolated. So I don't fully remember how that works. I don't have all of that information right now, but I'm experiencing it. So I'm learning quickly over the last
It's a
year.
lot to experience. So, one of my questions is like, what gives? Like, I mean, because I mean, it's easy to slip into a conversation about the ET agenda and whatnot. Your focus, at least at this time, is the super space program. But like, what gives? Like, ultimately, they're using, abusing folks like yourself so that what they can have a better planet Earth, or like, what is the reason behind all of this?
To be honest, I do not
Conscious
know,
evolution and
because
curiosity.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot more humans off planet than there are on planets, and so there's like trillions of Solarians that live out in space, on the breakaway Japanese colonies and German colonies and on spaceships and things. So I really don't know what their agenda is, because a lot of people don't even know that Earth is still a thing. And yeah, so I think they're just running down this planet, and then they're gonna go into space basically and continue on there where they have been for a very long time. Yeah, we just don't have that in our awareness. But now we've got, the Disclosure Day movies coming forward that's going to start to, and UFO files are being released. So it's a very small trickle of disclosure that's coming in, but it is all having an impact, I think. So yeah, I don't know what the end game is. I know if I had the option right now to take my family and just live off planet, I would, because life is generally better in the breakaway colonies for a majority of people, I believe, anyway. Yeah, so it's $1 million question, Terry. You're right. Yeah, we don't know why they're doing these things, really. I'm not aware.
I mean, there's so many theories out there, right? But one theory is that, like you said, a lot of people don't even know about planet Earth. They don't even know about us. Apparently, we are very, very sacred. We are front page news. We are like our biology and our relationship with bacteria. Like that would just be the answer that so many folk, if you will, are praying for and fighting over. Earlier, when you said the word asset, I've heard that word before, but it's a scary term because it basically means that you're being completely objectified, even though you're a sovereign, autonomous being. You're being treated like
Not
an
in those
object.
programs. You're owned. You are a product. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're literally an asset, a
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
And like your blood, if you will, it's like not even your blood. It's like they bought and sold it, and like a Frankenstein put you together.
Yeah.
But what's really special is like nature always wins. Nature always finds a way, even with Kit Kat surfacing. And that makes me
Yeah.
excited because I know it makes them scared. And in my dream life, I'm still figuring it out too. But I work with the bad guys, if you will. I was a total bad guy. But somewhere in my dream life, I come here to investigate, and people don't know who I am. And then when they realize who I am, they're like, oh no. So the more I talk with you, it's like, I wonder how we're connected because I feel like I'm before the space program. I don't really understand it myself. And then John Whitberg. So John, hopefully he'll be at the conference in September or December. But like, this is about you. It's not about John. But like, how does John fit in?
I collaborated with John on the card deck. We collaborated on it.
So. But like, why? Like, was he your commander officer? Was he your husband? Was he your son or father? What is the relationship?
So I collaborated with him on this deck, on the Breakaway Oracle deck. But yeah, we are connected in the programs, but we actually collaborated on this deck that I've created. But in the program, so I was reading John Whitberg's book last year, and I started to think about if one of the characters was me. Because there's a character who's called Wajet, who's like a snake goddess and everything, and I work with snake energies, and people have seen snakes in my throat, and there's that ET like being that's Naga, half snake, half human. So I've reached out to John Whitberg, and for me that was a big deal because he's a bit of a celebrity in the community. He's written like 4 books or whatever. So I reached out to him and said, I think I'm this person. He said, that's not you, but I'm going to FaceTime you. And we FaceTimed, and he said, I know you. I know you from a Japanese breakaway colony, and you were a student of mine. Yeah, and I trained you to be a spy. Right. And at the time, this was very welcome because anybody else that had been reaching out to me just knew me as Anchor Haven, who was either somebody who's extremely aggressive, or they knew me as Ella, who was a very mad genetic genius scientist. But he knows me as somebody else who I call Lucia. And Lucia was a German spy in the breakaway colony. So she was trained in corporate espionage. So that's how I know John Whitberg. We both have a couple of memories of each other. So I have a memory of his altar, who I think is Heinrich. We're not too sure if it was Heinrich, but I think it's Heinrich. So I remember going into his class and seeing him teaching, and he looked like him. I remember being in the class. I remember talking to him privately. I remember being on a mission where I was doing surveillance in like a town, a high-tech town, and we were monitoring a couple. So I do have memories of John Whitberg, and he remembers me as a female, kind of like a spy. But yes,
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because John Whitberg, I don't know John very well. We chatted a couple of times. I did a gemstone reading for him.
Yeah.
But in this real waking life, the biological one known as John Whitberg is only in his early mid-20s. He might only be 24, 25. And then it's kind of like interesting because you're biologically older than him. And I know other people that he's connected with are also like literally double his age. But he was born 15 to 20 years later, and so it's just interesting.
Yeah, you need to throw linear time out of the window, and because it doesn't exist basically. So yes, there's a version of him in this body that is 25 years old. So that particular body potentially was created 25 years ago, but the mind, that identity that is him, is much, much older. So in his books, he talks about being a person called Cal Del Show. So Cal Del Show was a synthetic that's basically from so originally was a boy from say the 1940s who then went on to be put into a synthetic body and everything, but that's still John's soul. And that when Kyle was, his life ended, that soul rehomed into John's mind. So that version of him is still in there. So there's a version of him in his mind who is a father, right, who's had 2 children. And so in his mind, he's traveled all over the world, all over, the breakaway colonies. In his mind, he is a soldier. Right. So you have to throw those things out the window. So when I first started to look into my records, I asked for my original birth certificate, and it said my name is Juliet Levy, and I was born in 1920. So there's a version of me that was born in 1920, and that consciousness is within me now. So I am Julia, I am Anchor Haven, and I'm Juliet, and I'm Kit Kat, all at the same time. So you can't put it into a linear perspective anymore. So I remember Kit Kat's experiences. I remember some of Juliet's experiences. I remember some of Angelique's experiences. Anchor Haven is a soldier, so she has multiple aspects that all come into one identity. And then I have Julia's identity. So even though John seems very young, he's probably one of the oldest people I know. And occasionally I call him like old man because he's so old. And he's very British as well. So people don't realize he is more British than I am, because I feel like I grew up in America and Toronto. But he is very British because he's got memories of living in the United Kingdom, working in bases and things in the United Kingdom. But I saw that was me. But I also remember living gone. Okay, sorry, it was my alarm went off. So I just need to check that my alarms are off.
Okay. I did a gemstone reading for John Whitberg a few months ago now, and it was my first time meeting him in person. And he did have a very mature personality. And I was surprised to learn that he was only in his early mid-20s. So there you go. I find it really fascinating. And as you can see, it's easy to slip into timelessness here.
Yeah.
What else did I write here?
One of the things to remember about John is that he didn't get mind wiped, not in the same way that I did. They couldn't wipe his memories. So he's had memories from 6 years old. He's always.
How come they couldn't wipe his mind? He's like the special one or something. He just.
Yeah, there's a few people.
It just makes me feel excited.
Yeah,
because those scientists have to be more humble. They don't have all the answers. They're not cleaning up their mess, if you will. Yeah. This to me would piss off other scientists that are colleagues of theirs. You know, because in some of the things,
aggressively mind wiped, probably like Chris as well. We got aggressively mind wiped. One of the reasons I was so aggressively mind wiped was to try and disconnect me from my super soldier partner, my brother Drago Reed. So they mind wiped me into oblivion, stuck me in the suburbs on another, you know, country far, far away to try and disconnect us. But we still found each other. We still did, because that energetic signature is still there. So he still remembers.
Nature finds a way.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Yeah.
That's the thing. We're nature. We're nature. And you know what? The scientists are nature too, but that's another theory of many where the scientists chose artificial intelligence and plastic pieces over the biological ones. And now they're desperate because they can't get that biology back. It's almost like they've lost their own original blueprint. So they're dependent on ours, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So why don't I show people the Buy Me a Coffee, because I already kind of started to, but I want to show people the part where you're highlighted in the upcoming conference, Promise of Spring. So where is my Buy Me a Coffee here? Is it here? Okay, hold on. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, I had it right. Okay, present. And okay, yeah. Okay, I was getting caught up looking at the comments. Okay. Julia's popular. She's got another show to host here. So, oh, let me bring it to the stage. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Okay. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. I think this is it. Nope, that's your picture. Okay. Is it this one? Okay, here's my Buy Me a Coffee. So we were talking about Julia's Oracle deck. There it is again. You can order your own copy, breakawayoracle.com. Healing, providing you with insight, triggering your mind, stirring what's inside, 52 deck, empowerment. There's the pendulum that you can get. Here's my little promotion of Julia. You can see her there on the top right. Julia Anchorhaven, going to be one of the Dragon speakers next week, June 13th. It falls on a Saturday. And you can also see Julia featured here on the left because she's going to be providing technical assistance and also working as a monitor. So I'm really delighted Julia's back this time as a presenter. All the presenters had homework to do. I asked them for a special message. Julia's special message: in these changing times, it is important to center our energies, to focus on the beauty within and around us, asking the question, what is possible here? And that makes me think about our conversation earlier with the Project Phoenix, like what else is possible here? And this is going to be Julia's presentation, anchored in shadow strength, the whispers of remembrance. And she's going to talk specifically about her experience in the SSP, Secret Space Program, the subtle signs, paranormal experiences, and her own journey discovering that her life was targeted, handled, and became multidimensional. And that's going to default her to also talking about her oracle. And then there's the link for today. But something else I just wanted to show quickly was to get a ticket and witness Julia Anchorhaven live next week, right here, you go to the shop on my Buy Me a Coffee, and here it is. It's $40 Canadian. It's a phenomenal Dragon Delight. I got my little write-up here, myself, the visionary behind it all, reiterating that stories are medicine. Julia provided us with a lot of medicine today, and you can learn more all about it. Once you purchase the ticket, you get a link, and there's lots of pictures here. Oh, it's not letting me click on it. There it is. And Julia, there you can see her again. And there's a schedule. So Julia is presenting, I think, is it 12:30? 12:30 Eastern. So you can catch Julia. We have a pretty strict schedule, and maybe this is a good time to end things on a funny note, because it wasn't funny a few days ago, but it was, for me it was, because I anticipate this. But I asked all the presenters for a pre-recorded presentation, first and foremost, in case we have tech issues. I still have something that I can play for people, right? I also asked the presenters to limit the presentation to 35 minutes maximum, which was really challenging because, as you can see today, I mean, we could still talk for hours and hours, right? But really creating the presentation was triggering for a lot of presenters. It forced them to sit down so that they could have a beginning, a middle, and end. That was hell for a lot of presenters, and a lot of people don't realize that. So tell us a little bit about that, because
about the process
even
of
this
making
morning,
the presentation. Yeah, so I was freaking out. So I've had a lot going on, so I did put it off quite a bit because I was trying to think how to do this, because when my SSP brother does his presentation, it's a minimum of 2 hours to 5 hours, and we have shared testimony, and I wanted to include some of that, and some of information about how I started to awaken, because I've awakened much later than people thought I would. So he awakened 20 years ago. He's been waiting for me to contact him all this time. So I generally I teach a lot with PowerPoint, and I generally do 2 slides a minute minimum. So I started off with 97 slides. And you said no, just 5 slides. 5 slides with 7 points on 35 minutes, that's it. And I knew, okay, that's not going to work for me, because I want to include I wanted to include the artwork from my card deck, so that people can experience the images as they go through, because it really does tell my testimony. So I started to try and reduce it down. I was literally saying to friends of mine, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm having a bit of a freak out right now. How can I tell my story? So it has been very healing, putting this down into a presentation, and also doing the voiceover. That took me 3 attempts to do the voiceover, and then it wouldn't save and things like that. So it has been extremely healing and humbling process trying to create this presentation. But there's also that fear factor of, does this make any sense? What are the people going to ask me if I've not included it in the presentation? So you're trying to put in as much as you can to minimize the questions you might get asked, but also to know that my presentation is potentially triggering, like today's talk, which does need to have a trigger warning in the description, that some people may find it activating, so they might get memories coming forward, or they might find it upsetting because we're talking about abuse, we're talking about mind fracturing. So yeah, it's been a tricky process, but I got there today. I completed the recording. I had to reduce it down to 32 slides or something, I think I managed in the end.
It's about 30 minutes long, so it's it's nice and tidied up, and I just scrolled through it. I just scrolled through it to make sure that it was like there, so I officially have it downloaded, but I really appreciated
a PDF
it
as well. So I saved it as a PDF just in case we couldn't get that to play. Then I've got at least a PDF to put on the screen to work from, and because it's always, PowerPoint presentations are talking points, but with this one, because it's so in depth, you've seen we can go in so many directions when you start to talk about, because I thought I was a regular person up until a couple of years ago. I really did think I was a normal person, that this was normal. And then I started to get memories coming in that were like space, and somebody kept saying to me, oh, you blew up that spaceship because nobody had listened to you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then now I realize I was on a mission, so that makes sense. Okay, there's a reason why. I've had memories of holding a severed arm, I'm feeling really happy about it. And I'm like thinking, well, how does that make any sense? So I've done a lot of work in the last year or so to basically know that this is my truth. Yeah, this does match other people's testimony. So my SSP brother and I literally have shared memories and things like that. I've got shared memories with at least 5 other people. So it has been very hard to put this into a 35-minute presentation. It has, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah, triggering, but fine. Yeah, there's medicine in the method, Terry's saying. That's so true. Yes.
And you know what? The other presenters too, knowing that they're not alone, because they often feel like, is this just me going through this? And behind the scenes, people don't realize my perspective. Behind the scenes, I've been meeting with presenters who are just like in tears, or at the last minute, they're like, I can't do this, it's too much, but it does come together, And like I said, I'm a real stickler for due dates, because I know the power of planning ahead. And some people, they do well doing it at the last minute, But honestly, can you imagine if the real day was tomorrow? No way. So now you've got like a whole week to just let the thoughts settle, and you'll be nice and ready. And the presentation is going to be awesome. Missy Hill is in our chat too, and she's going to be presenting as well. So it's all coming together. And the presenters from the first conference, Promise of Spring, are going to be attending as well in the chat. So it'll be nice to see them too. So, wow. Well, I just can't thank you enough for coming on today. I'm glad that it happened, because we had to reschedule. And it was really cool doing the gemstone reading live too. Just this lots of vulnerability for you to share and to shine your light, inspiring others to shine their light. And I noticed Julia's subscribers are increasing on her YouTube. So in this moment, if you haven't subscribed to Julia's YouTube, do that right now. It helps out behind the scenes with the algorithms. Get her oracle card. Get in on the story medicine. Julia's like, you're like what, live 2, 3, 4 times a day? Like
no, I do a morning live. So 4 or 5 times a week I call the early AM, which is 5 a.m. UK, which is midnight or 1 a.m. Eastern. And then I generally have at least one guest most days, so maybe 4 times a week. So maybe 10 times a week I'm live.
So yeah, I feel like every time I turn on my phone, it's like Julie Anchorhaven's live, and then it's like 12 hours ago or whatever, and then it's like, and then with my own bedtime, I wake up early, so I go to bed early. When I'm not there, and Missy says she's ordered her deck.
Yeah,
so that'll be cool.
Podcast goes live 3 times a day, and I moderate over there. So trying to find a time slot where I could go live on my channel. That's how I've ended up with the midnight time slot, and that's when we come together as our community live. We pull cards and we chat and we witness each other's journeys. Yeah, so we do that most days. I do take Sunday off. I don't do Sundays. That's the only thing.
Hey, you're setting boundaries, and that came up today in your gemstone reading. So if you like Oracle Tarot, talking about healing, the ghosties, ET agenda, and definitely if you have a special interest in Super Soldier and secret space programs, definitely head on over to Julia's YouTube channel. Any final thoughts, Julia? I got your link and whatnot in the description there.
No, I'm good. I mean, I will be doing an interview with Missy Hill later on. We're going to do a pre-Summer Days conference promotion on my channel, and just kind of warm her up and get ready for the conference next week, which is going to be so good, because the last one was so well organized. It was very streamlined. I was in the chat all day for like 10 hours, surrounded by snacks. We had a lot of fun in the chat last time we did. We really enjoyed the singing bowl sessions as well, so that was good. And then those mini videos you created about your gemstone readings, they were very cool as well. So everybody thoroughly enjoyed the last conference you did. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this next one. I'm going to BASIS. I am going to the BASIS conference in 2 weeks, the International Disclosure Conference by Miles Johnston. So I'm going to be appearing there. I'm not planning to talk. But if another person drops out, I might have to. So the presentation that I'm preparing for your conference could get utilized at bases if there is a need to. But I will be doing side podcasting while I'm there, and I'm meeting up with Sean Bond, Laura Eisenhower, Isha, Dr. Amir Jahangiri, and there's loads of like fantastic speakers there. So I'm going to try and do some side podcasting between my channel and Rob, Typical Skeptics channel. We're going to set something up over there. So it's a very busy 2 weeks. Yeah.
And you can support Julia through her Patreon too. It's going to cost her money to get from point A to point B. You know, make sure you're showing your support as well. And thank you for your compliments too. It wouldn't have been possible to do Promise of Spring or Summer Days without people exactly like you, and especially helping to set the precedents, you know. And I created my videos for the breaks a couple days ago now. I think you're really going to like them. I share about some of my tools from book 4, The Gnome King, about being the unmaker. And I think you're really going to like the descent in and out of the pine tree forest. I remade those videos. So I'm playing the singing bowl as I'm like guiding you through. It'll be a really great day.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to remove Julia from the stage. Thank you so much, Julia. Again, have fun tonight on your show. I will try to catch it. Julia typically goes live at 4 or 5 o'clock, and that's typically when I go to bed, but I wake up early, right? So if you are interested in being a guest on Story Species, Story Medicine, reach out to yours truly, Gina Virginia Casella. I would love for you to share your story. I don't investigate any of my guests because you know what? I know what it's like to tell a story and not to have any proof or evidence. You know, who am I? I'm just another person telling another Bigfoot story. That's what I always say. And I know what it's like for my world not to make sense. You know, 2 angels came out of my wall when I was 7 years old in grade 2, and it scared me. It wasn't a holy experience. And this is the real heart and truth of the story medicine. So make sure you show Julia some loving, get her Oracle card, subscribe to her YouTube channel, support her on her Patreon, and definitely witness Julia live next week at Summer Days at our second conference. It's going to be phenomenal, and a strong appreciation for the Dragon presenters and all the anticipation and preparation. You know, it's not just Julia Anchorhaven, but all the presenters are going through these motions, trying to get it together. And then it's such a payoff. It's such a thrill to present and share your story and to have that designated special space, because when I say Julia is presenting at 12:30 Eastern, you can bet that's when she's going to be presenting. And we really look forward to holding that space for her and others. So on that note, thank you so much, Dragon Dreamers. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And tomorrow we're going to be going live at 11 a.m. Eastern, just as a live tech rehearsal. So nobody's going to be presenting, but we can sure use your help if you're available. Come say hi to us in the chat. Let us know if you can hear us okay, if you can see us okay. We hope to be live just for maybe an hour or so, going through those motions in anticipation of our big day. And of course, next Friday, I'm going to be hanging out just for about an hour on the Friday. The big conference is on the Saturday. And then the Sunday, we're going to have post-conference hangout for about an hour or so. So whoever can make it, the presenters, monitors alike are invited. And then Michael Kopf is also hosting the presenters after. So lots of things to look forward to. And I hope you also continue to follow Julia through her basis as well. And I hope Julia gets to present. She's got her presentation already ready. So that'll be really great. All right. Thanks, Terry B. and everyone else for tuning in. Thanks for a great time, Julia. And there's Julia. See, she's like still monitoring right now. There's my Buy Me a Coffee, the extras. Get your tickets, $40 Canadian. It's online, and that's for the full day. It's not just for Julia's presentations, for the full day. Come hang out with us. We're your soul tribe, and we await you, the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. Yes, you. All right. Thank you so much, Dragon Dreamers. Here's a little promo for the conference, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye for now.